And we are live.
Hey,
What's up, everyone? I am joined with my buddy Squash, and we are going to talk about a bunch of stuff today. Happy New
whole
Year.
bunch of stuff. Happy New Year.
This is the first podcast of 2020. Squash, we made it to the future. What do you think?
Yep, we are beyond Blade Runner type of
That's
future
right.
now.
When was
When are we
Blade?
going to get our floating cars?
When was Blade Runner? Was it 2018?
I think it was November 2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Um, well, we still have to wait till 2049 for the
Yeah,
other stuff. So
for Ryan Gosling to appear.
yeah. Um, Squash.
Yep.
Cyberpunk comes out this year.
Ooh,
Uh,
The Last of Us 2 comes out this year
Not even a year. I mean, this stuff is coming out soon.
in a matter of months.
Yeah, that's insane. I feel like we have a bunch of stuff to talk about.
For sure.
We're probably not going to get through all of this in one podcast.
Hmm.
So we have a bunch of topics to discuss, a bunch of things like GOTY 2019. We have an entire decade to go over.
Yep.
Hey Heels, what's up? How are you? Um, I guess first let's just jump into what we've been playing though. You've been playing a lot of stuff.
I have been dipping my toes in all sorts of games, yeah. Um, I'll start with Escape from Tarkov because
Oh yeah, I want to hear about this.
I was kind of debating for 2 or 3 weeks whether or not to pick it up, and then by the end of the third week, I was like, I definitely want to buy this game, but then I had to wait for the sale, which was like then another week away. So it was very hotly anticipated on my end to jump into it, um, and it's quite a lot of fun. Um, I haven't played a huge amount. It says I've got like 20 hours on my account, but most of that is just in my inventory reassorting stuff because
Yeah.
I have such a small inventory because of the version of the game I bought, and
So
I'm getting so many
for
items.
for everybody that doesn't know what Escape from Tarkov is, can you explain what it is?
Yeah, it's kind of like a multiplayer hardcore, or like a hardcore first-person shooter with looter shooter aspects, and it's like very realistic, like think Daisy or Armor, but it's nowhere near as sandboxy as that. Um, so I don't know how to explain it without going into so much detail because the game takes hundreds of hours to learn. Like there's people with hundreds of hours that are still learning new things every day about the game
Yeah, it's
because it's
it's
just
hard to
so deep and
explain, and
complex.
I think that's why I have a hard time uh, getting into it because
Mm,
it's so complex. But and that's part of my problem too is I really don't know what this game like what I'm supposed to do fully. So we should mention too it's still in early access. It's an
yeah.
early access game. Um, and okay, this is not the video that I was looking for. I just want some basic gameplay. Um,
I will
but
say it's incredibly well developed for despite the fact that it's still in early access. Like they have their netcode issues and their kind of server capacity issues, but it's incredibly like it plays incredibly well.
yeah, I mean it's like a hardcore military sim kind of game.
Hmm.
Um, but so well, okay, just go ahead and continue. I'll ask questions as we go because I
Okay.
wanna I wanna know more about this game too.
So you start off kind of with these base items, so maybe some pistols, an AKS 74U, just without any type of mods. You start off level one. None of the items in the game are anything you know, or like they kind of grayed out. They're a silhouette, so you have to inspect each new item you come across, and then you get XP for like everything you do in the game. So it's all worth doing. And you take on quests from vendors in the game. Um, I highly recommend if you are playing the game, the first thing you should do should be like go through all the vendor lists and like examine all the unknown items because you get a ton of XP, and it means when you go into raids, You don't have to examine an item before you pick it up.
Oh, that's
It
interesting.
just saves time while you're looting because
Yeah, I was wondering about that too because I felt like every time I would go into one, I would always have to examine every single item that I was looking at
yeah,
or picking up.
it's really a pain sometimes because the game is PvP slash PvE. So there's obviously PvP, so like player versus player type combat where it's kind of it's very much every man for themselves. You can squad up, but like there's no indication of who your teammates are, so it's
Hmm.
very easy to like shoot a friend by accident. It's often hilarious, but um, when you die, you lose all your gear. So I guess it's not hilarious for the person you killed.
And it's like
Um,
permanently, right? Like you can't
yep.
get it back.
Although you can insure gear, which basically means that if you get killed by an AI, by one of the kind of AI enemies in the game, and no one ends up picking your loot up, within 24 to 36 hours, your loot will come back to you through one of the vendors, um, which is rather handy. So, like, if you're early in the game, constantly insuring your gear is a very, like, I highly recommend insuring your gear the majority of the time.
Is it expensive to do that?
Um, it's maybe like 10,000 rubles because the game's set in Russia, so
Hmm.
the main currency is rubles. There are euros and dollars as well, and there's one vendor that only deals in dollars. He's like the stereotypical American, like heavy,
Oh dear.
um, yeah. But he deals in dollars, and you can trade for dollars via rubles pretty easily. The screen on the video at the moment is showing or was showing the health kind of menu.
Hmm.
Um, So each limb, including your head and kind of your stomach and whatever, arms, legs, they all have health bars and health meters. And so limbs can be fractured. You can start bleeding from like your stomach. Each limb can be blacked out, so you completely lose access to it and you can't heal it unless you have a specific item. Um,
Yeah, that happened to
and
me one
so,
time. That it
yeah.
was my leg that I couldn't heal,
Hmm.
and I knew where the extraction point was, but it took me like forever to walk there because I was just
Yeah.
walking so slow.
Yeah, like if you get a blacked out arm, your aim becomes incredibly unstable. And like
Hmm.
so if you go to throw a grenade with a blacked out arm, it'll just go completely opposite direction to wherever you're trying to throw it. Which can backfire pretty poorly sometimes. Um, but
So
yeah, so these
the gameplay loop of this game is you just accept a mission from a vendor.
yeah, basically, so there's kind of the chase for the best gear in the game is one of the kind of loops is going in trying to kill the most geared players out there and taking all their loot for yourself. And then there's also quests in the game from these different vendors that basically challenge you to go out and do these specific tasks on certain maps. I think there's like 5 or 6 maps. There's 5 or 6 maps in the game at the moment. There's more to come still. One of the biggest maps is still yet to come, which is set in like a giant city with all these skyscrapers and big buildings. Um, and then on each map, there's also extraction points. So the reason it's so risky um, is because you have to, once you've gotten all the loot from either a person or an item box or just items scattered randomly throughout the map, um, you have to go to a specific extraction point somewhere on the map. And if you're a new player, you generally have no idea where these extraction points
Yeah.
are because there's no maps in the game that are of any use at all.
That's
Um,
how do you feel about that? Because I feel like it's not. I don't know. It's very uninviting for new players.
Yeah, this game is absolutely terrible for a new player. You definitely have to go out and like if you have a second monitor, pulling up a player made map for
Hmm.
the certain map you're playing on is life saving. And like even just there's an offline mode in the game, thankfully. You don't get any XP from it or any loot from it, which is kind of unfortunate. It's purely for like quote unquote testing
Yeah,
purposes. But
but you can
that's a
at
very
least
good way
look at the
to
maps and things.
yeah, yeah, it's a good way to go in and learn the maps, learn where the AI spawns, so you know if you're about to run into anything, and prepare because you will die very, very quickly in this game if you're unprepared.
Until they
Um,
change where the AI spawns, then you're just out
yeah,
of luck.
because I think they're talking about adding in random loot spawns to the game, which would just completely overhaul this game completely. Um, because at the moment, people kind of have these set routes that they go on. They know where loot's going to spawn or has a chance of spawning, but once loot's randomized, the game just completely changes. There's new items that will become rarer than others, etc., etc. It's very, it's constantly changing. They wipe like every 3 months, so all your
Mm.
account's progress is basically deleted, and everyone starts from the beginning again, which is usually pretty fun because they've added either a new map or two, or they've made some completely massive change, like for example, randomizing loot. And
Do
so
they
while a wipe can be kind of daunting, it's usually a pretty exciting moment.
do they have any kind of roadmap for this, like when it's going to be finished?
I think the goal is to get it out like to 1.0 by the end of this year. Um, I don't know how much I believe in that,
I mean,
but
I don't ever believe early access stuff when they
well,
say that it's going to be
yeah.
a certain time. It's never that time.
But I
um,
mean, if they're updating every 3 months, they kind of have four big updates to go this the rest of this year.
mhm.
And seeing as they only have a few more maps to add in, I think they could get it to 1.0 by the end of the year. So I'm kind of hopeful,
You
to be
remember when
honest.
Star Citizen was supposed to come out in 2014?
I do remember that.
I know this is a very different situation.
I
Um,
don't think that game will come out in my lifetime, honestly.
is there gonna be any kind of a like a campaign or single player aspect? I mean, like you said, you can play offline like
Hmm.
PVE. Is there gonna be any kind of a campaign to this or anything?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't believe there will be. There's been rumors throughout the years and stuff. But I don't think so. The quests that you get kind of act as a campaign, despite the fact that it's not very like story heavy. The quests, they're kind of just random tasks these vendors give you, and then you get rewards from them.
Hmm. Did you
Oh,
ever?
one thing I forgot to mention: there's a hideout system,
Oh,
which is
interesting.
like basically base building. Um, So there's all these different areas around your hideout that you can build up. They give you bonuses to your PMC, your primary character, when he's out of a raid. Um, they also give you the ability to craft items. There's like a shooting range you can build in one of your hideouts that you can go in, and it doesn't take up any of your ammo
That's
or anything
cool.
like that. And you can just test out weapons after you've modded them. Um, you can there's like this whole thing. You can farm bitcoins with GPUs, and you can build these PCs, and then bitcoins sell for like 100,000 rubles each,
Wait,
which
you
is
can build PCs and farm for them in the game, like
yeah,
fake bitcoins in the game.
yeah. You build like you find GPUs
What
and
in
all
the
these different
world?
PC parts throughout the world.
I was
Um,
wondering what in the world I was
yeah,
finding like a GPU for.
yeah. Graphics cards are actually pretty expensive. Worth quite a bit of money in this game.
Oh man, the
But yeah,
future looks
because
bleak.
there is an entire like player built economy surrounding this game that is changing by the day, and it's rather impressive, to be honest, like how complex it goes, because there's a whole kind of um it's called the flea market, but it's kind of like eBay. You just auction things off and people buy them. uh, the flea market takes like a fee based on whatever your um like the price you're selling your item for. Like the higher it is, the higher the fee, etc. um
That's very true, Mitz.
but yeah, the economy in this game is scary at first when you first come across it, but is very, very impressive.
Hopefully, it doesn't get too overwhelming or too complex like that. What is that? That space game that is basically like just all spreadsheets now.
Eve Online?
Yeah, Eve.
Yeah. I've never even looked into that, just from what I've heard about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I've tried. I mean, it sounds so interesting, and every now and then they have these articles that you'll see like these giant battles that'll take place in Eve of like
Hmm.
different corporations that go to war with each other, and
Yeah.
it'll last like days sometimes. But I don't. I've tried to get into it and I don't even begin to understand what you're supposed to be doing in that game. It looks cool though.
Yeah, some of the like stuff I hear about it is just insane.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah.
I'm I don't know. I got this game. Somebody gifted it to me a long time ago.
Mhm.
And I feel kind of bad because I haven't really played it much. I I'm still very interested, but at the same time, I just don't know if I'm really going to be able to get into it very much, at least
Mhm.
until it fully comes out. I feel like I might enjoy it when it fully comes out.
I
Um,
definitely think playing it. I think now is honestly one of the best times to jump into it.
mhm.
Um, Playing with a friend, like if we were to play together, that would be both helpful for me and I could relatively easily kind of Sherpa you about and teach you new things.
Yeah, be my
And then
Sherpa.
and then yeah, we'd kind of get to the point where we're at the same level and we're learning new things and coming across new things together, which would be pretty cool because my kind of main source on info for this game has been Brian Boru. Um, I don't know how you pronounce the second part of his name,
I
but
don't
I've been
either.
constantly kind of DMing him and asking questions, and he's been super helpful.
Yeah, he
Um,
plays a lot of that game, doesn't he?
yeah, he's been playing it since it came out, and I think I'm going to be playing a bit with him later on, either today or over the weekend. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Cool. Sid, you know Sid in our Discord?
Yeah,
He has also played a lot of this. I'm not sure if he plays that much now, but I know that he plays a lot and is probably a pretty good resource as well.
interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I am curious to hear more what you think of
Hmm.
it after you keep
Yeah,
playing it.
I'll definitely be playing more. Keep you posted.
What else?
Uh, I've been playing a bit of Hades, the game from the Transistor devs, I think it is,
Yeah,
Supergiant Games.
Yeah, I was about to say super massive, but that's Until Dawn.
Until
Super
Dawn,
Giant.
yeah. Yeah, Supergiant Games. I bought this game relatively close to when it released, because I think it dropped last Game Awards, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or like 2018 Game Awards. And so I bought
Yeah,
it around that time, and I played it for like an hour or so, and I didn't really get into it all that much because there wasn't really much at the time because it had literally just come out and it was in early access. Um, but I jumped into it 2 nights ago now, um, and I I kind of just had this random urge to play it, and I ended up playing it till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
nice,
Um, it was very very enjoyable. It's kind of this rogue like progression game, very similar to like Enter the Gungeon or Wizard of Legend, one of those types of games. But the art style is beautiful. The combat um, is pretty diverse, to be honest. You kind of within the first 20 to 30 minutes, you have both a bow and this sword, and they're both different items. So you can go through multiple runs, and you'll be discovering new power ups and stuff for each item separately depending on the one you choose in the beginning, and then you unlock more weapons as you play. I think there's like 6 or 7 weapons in total, and I've still only got two, which is pretty exciting because um, I'm excited to see what else is coming and what they come up with, and all the sorts of different power ups and abilities you can get that kind of combine with the different weapons and such. Um, but you basically play as Hades' son. I forget what they called him in this, or what his actual name is.
Hades Junior.
Well, yeah, we'll say Hades, Hades Junior. Um, you're basically trying to escape from hell. Hades, you kind of have grown this um, this hate towards your father being Hades. And so everyone in Olympus, whether it be like Poseidon, who's technically your uncle, Zeus helps out. There's
Greek mythology is so
Aphrodite,
weird.
Athena. Yeah, it's very, very weird. But yeah, there's all these Olympian gods who kind of help you out through your runs, and they're the ones who give you the abilities and power ups, which is pretty cool. So like if you see a Poseidon's trident in like on the door to the next room, then that means once you've completed the room, like you'll get a water ability from Poseidon, and so you can kind of build each run based on the kind of abilities you get for earlier on in the game, and then flesh them out and combo all sorts of different things,
Do
um,
you
which is pretty
do
neat.
you ever fight any of the gods?
Not like I've only fought one boss so far, and I kind of struggled on that boss, to be honest, because this is a pretty damn difficult game.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes me nervous. I love the idea of roguelikes,
mhm.
but games like Dead Cells, I just
Yep.
don't think I'm good enough to play those games because I felt like I was never really making any progress. Like
Hmm.
I would do a run and I just would never even get to the boss, and like I wouldn't really get that much currency or that many items, that many new items or anything. And so it
Hmm.
just felt like I was never really making much progress, and I worry that that would be my problem with this game as well.
I think this game, comparing it to Dead Cells in particular, it's, in my opinion, much easier to understand where you're progressing, and where you're like looking to where you're looking um, to try and find the different upgrades and stuff. So like as you go through runs, you collect these purple orbs. I can't remember the name of them. But like if you die, you then keep those purple orbs and you go to this mirror in your room and you can upgrade certain abilities based on the amount of these purple orbs you have. Um, and then there's also um, cosmetic upgrades you can make to your room. And then pretty obviously you can each run is kind of you're going through a certain amount of rooms. So like my first run, I made it through 9 rooms, and then my second run, I made it to the first boss of the first floor, basically. And then my third run, I beat the boss, made it to the second floor, made it all the way through that floor, beat the second floor boss, and then died on the third floor somewhere. But it's much easier compared to Dark Souls, I think, to see
Dead Cells.
how much you'll progress. Yeah, Dead Cells, not Dark Souls. It's easier to see how you're progressing or how much you're progressing each time. Yeah.
Did you ever play shoot, what is the name of that game? It's a Dark Souls like game, but it's a roguelike.
Um, there's a lot of those, or it feels like there's a lot of those.
Well, this is like a Necropolis. Did you ever play
Oh,
Necropolis?
I didn't ever play that. I looked at it for quite a while though.
It's a pretty cool game.
Hmm.
Uh,
I
to
didn't know it was a roguelike even.
Yeah, it's very much a roguelike. Um, yeah, to me, I was looking at this back when like I was just dying for Dark Souls like games.
Hmm.
What I have a question for you. What do you consider a Souls like?
That is a good question.
Because I
I
feel like a lot
think
of people describe this differently.
I think the best thing, or one of the best things I could say, is that I don't think Fallen Order's that much of a Souls like.
Hmm.
Um, I think the Surge does a pretty good job of it. Um, I think uh, hmm, I haven't really played Code Vein, but from what I've seen of it, it's pretty close to what I'd consider a Souls like. I think any game where there's a risk in progressing further than you probably should, or if there's items kind of hidden behind areas you'd never expect, but then there's a very hard enemy in front of that item, and then that item's actually going to give you um, benefits to like your build or whatever, then I think that's part of a Souls like. And I think any type of general, I think RP like role playing, I guess you could say it's role playing kind of skill and gear progression is a pretty big thing in what I'd consider a Souls like game.
For me, it's pretty simple. It has to have stamina based combat,
Hmm.
meaning that you have to have a stamina bar, and you when you swing your weapon or when you do an action that uses stamina, it has to have respawning enemies. When you die,
Hmm.
the enemies respawn, and also currency that is lost upon death.
Yep.
Um, and to me, like Fallen Order, I would say is a rogue or a Souls like. I don't think it's a very good Souls like.
Hmm.
Um, that's a whole other discussion. But the respawning enemies just make zero sense to me in a Star Wars game. Like I like
Hmm.
it, but it makes zero sense why Star Troopers are just magically coming back after you die.
Hmm.
But yeah, I feel like so many people have different definitions of what a Souls like is. I
I
was
think
just
you described
curious.
it pretty well.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to it. That's just for me personally, and that's what I enjoy about Souls types game.
Hmm.
Souls type games is the going through areas. I would also maybe add like level design into it, but that's kind of ambiguous. The way that
Yeah.
most Souls like games kind of circle back around and um, you unlock areas that kind of take you to give you shortcuts to bring you back to the bonfire or something. A Souls like game has to have a bonfire type thing in it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Code Vein, definitely a Souls like. Surge, definitely a Souls like. Um, I would say Fallen Order is a Surge like. You don't really have stamina so much. I mean, you kind of do. Wait, do you?
Yeah.
No, you do
It's
have
kind of
stamina,
like a
don't you?
parry stamina, or like a blocking stamina. Like when you attack, it
It's
doesn't
like
use up stamina.
Sekiro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Sekiro comes into the mix now, and that's kind of throws things off because you don't have stamina in
Hmm.
Sekiro, um, which is
You have
kind of
everything
weird.
else.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, Hades looks it looks good. Lorcan's
It
recommending
really
it
is,
too.
I think.
Yeah, and it's still in early access, right?
I think so. It is also now out on Steam. So if
Mm-hmm.
you were hesitant on buying it because it was on the Epic Store, it is now out on Steam as well.
Yeah, cool. What else?
I've been playing. I played like an hour and 20 minutes of Disco Elysium, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I played a tiny bit of Disco Elysium, but I mean, literally
Hmm.
like maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah. I
Just the
won't
very
go
start.
too into it then. Um, but Disco Elysium is a hell of a trip. Um, this game is one of the most well-written games I think I've played in a very, very long time. The comedy is hits well for me. I laugh out loud every like 3 or 4 minutes. It's hilarious. Um, it's basically kind of a CRPG, so like text based, well not text based, but heavily text based kind of dialogue option heavy game, where you play this kind of, well, you don't really know what you are in the beginning of the game, but you're given the hint that you're kind of like a police detective kind of guy. Um,
You wake up with amnesia, which
yeah.
sounds very cliche because that's like every other RPG, how every other RPG starts. But I mean, it
Hmm.
makes sense because, well, just the way the game is, they kind of
Yeah, you're basically a
make it
raving
make
drunk.
sense. Hmm.
So yeah, waking up with memory loss is kind of a given for the kind of guy you're playing. But the way they don't like unveil it to you slowly who you are, there's kind of a whole system of different parts of your brain. So like the emotional part, the angry part, the kind of logical thinking part, and all of these parts of your brain talk to each other, and then you also talk to them. And so you can kind of build up what you think you were before this kind of memory loss, even though there's obviously one thing you were, and that's revealed pretty early on. But it's funny how you can kind of come up with the idea that you were this superstar pop singer, before you had this memory loss, rather than a police detective.
What in the
And some of the
world?
dialogue that plays out is hilarious.
Yeah, I honestly can't wait to play it. I'm just trying to get through some other games, get through The Witcher,
Hmm.
which is going to take a while, but I'm fine with that. Um, and yeah, I can't wait to just kind of sink my teeth into that.
Yeah, I think I would have played more, but I'm just waiting on that ultra widescreen
Hmm.
patch. Once that comes out, I will probably like just play this game, nothing else, until I beat it, because it's not that long. I think it's like 25,
Yeah,
30 hours.
that's
Um,
encouraging, honestly.
yeah, yeah. The I think we always used to think that the amount of like the more hours in a game, the better.
Yeah.
But since then, it's kind of like Just don't like 50 hours and below is good, I think.
Yeah.
Unless it's The Witcher 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's some games that, like I want to just play Cyberpunk
Yeah,
to the day
I
I
could play
die.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's some games that, it's good to just have an ending, just get through it, and not take forever and be drawn out. I
Yeah,
mean,
for
if
sure.
the game needs it, like, if you're 50 hours in and like it's still super intriguing and things like that, then that's fine.
Hmm.
But if it's starting to get repetitive, like a lot of games do, and they're just kind of adding in content and filler stuff just to make it longer, then yeah, I don't like that. Hey, Koala,
Assassin's Creed Odyssey,
welcome
I
in.
think, was the main culprit of that.
Mm,
Because
man,
that game is way too long for its own good.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey is such an interesting just discussion
Yeah,
because I I play that every now and then. I don't know if I'll ever finish it.
I
Um,
won't. I know that for sure.
I enjoy it every time I play it, and I think a big part of my enjoyment is I. So I was able to get into the, I can't remember what they call it, the stream test that they did with Google. It
The
was basically
the
like
Stadia.
the pre Stadia. Well, I mean, this was like
Hmm.
before they even were talking about Stadia.
Oh yeah, it was just a Google streaming
Yeah,
type thing.
and they partnered with Ubisoft, and
Mm.
they gave you a free copy of Odyssey, and then they also gave you a free, or not free, but they just gave you like the in-game currency. I can't remember what it is, but it
Hmm.
was enough to get the double XP, and so I just bought that, and I feel like I feel like that's just the balance that they needed, was just to raise the XP so that you're not having to grind so much.
I think they did do that in the end. They kind
Maybe
of
they
made it
did.
so you get more
Yeah.
XP throughout the game.
But yeah, I mean, I felt like I was leveling up really fast with
Hmm.
that. But I don't know. It's just so daunting. That game is just massive, and
Yeah, it really
to
is.
open the map and see that like the starting area is like 2% of the map, and that map is like as big as a lot of games are.
Hmm.
It's very daunting.
It's really insane how big that game is.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to Disco Elysium, I'm really excited to get into that eventually.
Yeah, and it's like constantly on sale for like 25% off, I
Hmm.
think. So if you're interested in the kind of CRPG type genre with some good writing, and I think it has pretty heavy political undertones, but they're not too serious. So, but yeah,
Well, it
I
takes
highly
place at
recommend it
the
based on what I play.
end. It takes place like at the end of a revolution, right? Like at the end of the fall of communism or in this
I think
country.
so. Yeah.
Is it a fictional? What does that even mean? A
I
fictional
think.
country?
Yes, I think so. Like I don't recognize any of the place names they've said so far, so
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it's all fictional.
okay, interesting. Um,
I
let's
think if
see.
Mitz is here, if Mitz is still here, he'll appreciate the next game I have to talk about,
What is that?
which is Monster Hunter World.
Ooh,
Um, I've played through this game. Well, I don't think I've honestly ever had the credits roll in this game. Um, but I've gotten very, very close to the end multiple times, and I'm playing. I kind of started on an old 6 hour long save file I had for this game earlier today because Iceborne comes out on the 9th, I think, of January.
for
Um,
PC. Yeah, it's been
for
out
PC,
on
yeah.
PS4,
Yeah, it's been out on
which
console for
stinks.
quite a while now.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they have to delay everything that comes out on console first for PC at a later date. So, um, but yeah, Iceborne, like the amount of hype I've heard around this expansion is insane. People say it's like one of the most, one of the best expansions for any game ever, like up there with Shadowbringers for Final Fantasy 14 and Blood and Wine for The Witcher 3. Um, so I am kind of getting back into Monster Hunter World. I don't like, I try not to say that with any um, kind of distaste because I enjoy the game very much. But having played through the majority of the game so many times now, it does get a bit.
It's just
Um,
grindy.
yeah, it gets a bit grindy.
Yeah.
Um, I think I have maybe 15 to 20 hours left before I kind of get to the point where I need to be ready for Iceborne, which isn't too bad. Like Iceborne comes out next Thursday. I can put in the time and be ready for then. But this was kind of a very, um, I guess, in the moment type decision I made, seeing all the hype around Iceborne next week,
Hmm.
um, and kind of wanting to have a game that's as grindy as Monster Hunter seemed like the perfect time to kind of jump back in. So I guess I'm kind of jumping on the bandwagon of hype for Iceborne on PC.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get into it, honestly. My experience with Monster Hunter World is I played through it on the PS4.
Hmm.
It was actually the reason, or not the reason, but the impetus for me to push me over the edge for getting a PS4 Pro, because that game looks rough on a base PS4.
Yeah, it does.
It was so blurry and frame rate was so messy.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the thing that pushed me over the edge to get a Pro. But yeah, I played through. I feel like most of the story, um, but I just got so burned out on just grinding so much and just not really getting the stuff that I wanted slash needed.
Hmm.
Hey, no duck, Chris, what's up? Could you get it? What do you mean? Could I get an Assassin's Creed game now? Watch Dogs 3 or Watch Dogs Legion was delayed. They haven't put a date on it. I think they just said next fiscal year, which is what, March 31st, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. So sometime in
Yeah.
that period. I'm assuming that it'll probably be like late this year.
Hmm.
But yeah, we don't really know. They basically delayed that because of the disaster that was Breakpoint.
Yeah.
They delayed all of their games, which I think was
It
a
was very
pretty
impressive.
bold move. Yeah,
Yeah.
they delayed Gods and Monsters, which honestly I was most excited for that. That game looked really, really interesting.
Hmm.
That was supposed to come out in February, I think, and then Legion, of course, and I feel like there was something else that they delayed or that they had
Oh,
announced.
the Rainbow Six Outbreak, wasn't
Oh
it?
yeah, that was one.
Yeah.
Maybe even something else. But yeah, they're kind of reassessing all of that stuff, which I think is good, and especially kind of gutsy for a big company like Ubisoft to do that. Because I
Hmm.
mean, despite how bad Breakpoint is slash was, like that game still sold incredibly well.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I think that they realized that it's going to tarnish their reputation if they keep putting out games like that. And
Yeah,
Ubisoft has really turned around since the Watch Dogs 1 days.
for sure.
um, so I see this next game that you put on the list. I'm curious
Hmm.
about this.
Yeah. I started up, well, I modded briefly and then started up Stalker,
The
Shadow
original
of
Stalker.
Chernobyl
Yeah.
to be specific. Um, I literally got a phone notification last night saying from like, it was like a news notification saying this new mod was out for Stalker, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And it wasn't even for the Stalker game I had, but then for some reason that sparked something in my brain to go and search through all the Shadow of Chernobyl mods and um, get everything set up for a Stalker first time Stalker playthrough. Because I have and had Shadow of Chernobyl for a couple years now, but never played more than an hour. Um, because I think I went into the vanilla game and kind of with no mods or anything. I just didn't like it was too dated for me. Um,
What is the mod? I saw that one had just come out recently. Maybe the same thing that I'm thinking of.
yeah, the mod that just came out was called the I want to say Gunsmith mod for Call of Pripyat. I think that's the one that I kind of got the phone notification for. It's not one I've installed because I don't have
Oh,
Call of
okay.
Pripyat.
I got you.
Um, the mods I have installed for Shadow of Chernobyl, I kind of installed this one pack that had a whole bunch of them built in.
Hmm.
Um, so I have dynamic shaders, an FOV increaser, a weapon pack, um, some photo or quote unquote photorealistic textures. They're not really photorealistic. A weather overhaul, a kind of, it's called the Zone Reclamation Project, but it's kind of like one of those unofficial patches that people bring out for all the Bethesda games because
Mm-hmm.
they're always so buggy. So I downloaded one of those type things. Um, and just some general HD type stuff because the game looks pretty dated by itself. But yeah, I started that up earlier today, just for a couple hours, and I'm pretty enticed so far, to be honest. It's especially after having played Escape from Tarkov for quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's very similar in how it's very easy to die, but it's also pretty easy to kill things. But then it's also a bit of Metro with how there's mutants in the game, and also kind of paranormal type anomalies and kind of post-apocalyptic Russia, stereotypical stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I'm honestly so excited that you're playing this game, and I hope you continue and can get through it because to me, this is another one of those games, kind of like Witcher One when it came out. I didn't know, I didn't know a whole lot about gaming at the time, and like I didn't really read any publications or anything like that. Um, and so I just went in totally blind to not knowing anything about this game.
Mm,
Um, and I still think that this is one of the most atmospheric games I've ever played. You're probably not too far into it.
no,
So like you haven't gone underground and done some of that stuff.
no.
But the way and like it's hard because I know that this game is old and like some of the textures are really rough, but I swear when you get into certain scenarios and especially underground and you have your flashlight on, it has
Hmm.
some of the most realistic lighting I've ever seen
Yeah.
because your flashlight like casts shadows on everything. Um and getting underground and I'm kind of worried to tell you this because I know that you don't do well with horror situations. It
I know
can
there's some
be
pretty spooky
straight up
stuff.
terrifying at some points.
I've
Um,
already been jump scared multiple times, just kind of surface level type stuff.
yeah, and the sound is so good in this game. I think.
Hmm.
Just again, I feel like most of the stuff is going to be later on. Um, that you'll get to, but man, the game is really good. It's janky. It's super janky. But if you can get past that, and it sounds like you have some good mods installed too, then
Hmm.
it's a really, really cool game. I really like it.
Honestly, some of the stuff I was looking at last night, I was kind of looking at these super ultra good looking like modded up games,
Mm-hmm.
and this one video looks an awful lot like Fear to me. Just it's not. It's only in how he's kind of leaning and how the general area looks, but that was kind of weird seeing as I just played through Fear One.
Wait, you're talking about Force Stalker?
Yeah, for Stalker, this I sent you the video actually.
Oh,
The kind of first couple minutes even
okay.
reminded
Here
me
we go.
quite a bit of Fear. It's an ultra wide video, but that's just because I was looking for ultra wide mods and stuff.
Yeah, just look how good the lighting is.
Hmm.
This is okay. This is exactly the area I was thinking of. Yeah, the lighting is just incredible in this game. This game came out in 2007.
It's mad.
Yeah. When you go here, you're gonna be pretty terrified.
I'm looking forward to it. Not really though, because I'm probably gonna cry.
Did they show? I'm wondering if they actually show. I don't want to spoil anything here. There's
At
some
like the
pretty
5 minute
stuff
mark,
down
it gets
there.
pretty dark.
5 minutes. Let's see.
Well, like 5 minute, 20 maybe.
Yeah, I mean this whole area is pretty spooky,
Hmm.
and so it's really cool too because it's set in well Chernobyl, which was the where they had a nuclear what is it called?
Kind of disaster.
Power plant. Yeah, nuclear
Yeah.
power plant that melted down or almost melted down. And so still to this day, like you have to be really, really careful going there. There was an entire town of city of 50,000 people that had to be evacuated. A lot of people probably know this from Call of Duty, but I played it first in Stalker. But yeah, it's so cool just getting to explore this area. There's a really cool making of kind of documentary that the developers put out that I think I even have like with the game.
That's pretty cool.
That shows like how they actually went there and they took like all these pictures for reference, and it shows like the side by side references for how similar it looks. It's really cool.
There's also the show that came out, the HBO show Chernobyl, which is meant to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it myself, but I might want to watch it after I've played Stalker.
Oh man, I hope you continue.
I probably will. Yeah,
it's really, really good. All right. You want to talk about The Witcher?
We can talk about The Witcher. I think we've both been playing it quite extensively.
So I played The Witcher 1. I'll talk just briefly about that. Playing through The Witcher 1, I think this is my third full playthrough that I've done of The Witcher 1 now. And I think this just solidifies that it's easily one of my favorite games of all time. I fully admit that, nostalgia has a lot to do with it. Just the time that I played it, the first time when it first came out, and just going into that blind was just a really cool experience. But I don't know. There's just something about every side quest in the game is just so well done, and I mean that this carries out to all of the games, as you well know. Even in 2 and of course 3, the side quests are just meaningful, and it's not just like, I mean, they are fetch quests, but all of them are just interesting. Or I mean, not all of them are fetch quests, but even the fetch quest type quests are just interesting quests that just have these little twists and things on it like that. I still think to this day, and will defend the combat in The Witcher 1, that I think it's definitely better than 2, and arguably better than 3, just because I like how complex it is, and I like having to really prepare for a battle every time that you go in to face just even smaller enemies, especially if you're playing on a harder difficulty. You have to prepare your potions, and you have to learn your different fighting styles. You have 3 different fighting styles with each one of your swords. And then, of course, your signs. You have to really learn and use your signs. I got so powerful. I was playing on the hardest difficulty, that I got so powerful on The Witcher 1 that I was able to take out the boss like in just 3 seconds. It was insane and insanely satisfying also.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about that game that I will just always love. And I think the story is really well done. I think story-wise, it may be maybe not as good as 2 or 3. But I mean, 2 and 3 are fantastic. I honestly think 2 may have the best like self-contained story out of all of them.
I think I haven't played either 1 or 2 fully, but I mean 3 story is pretty damn good, and I think it kind of arcs the whole of Geralt's kind of journey, and then it comes to an end pretty well.
I think the ending is fantastic. I mean,
I do too.
At least
there are multiple endings you can
The ending
get,
that I got, there's like 26 different endings.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought there's only like 3 or 4.
There's like 3 main different endings, but then there's like 8 variations of like each one of the main ones. And I mean, they still vary quite a bit. Koala, I have not played the DLC for The Witcher 3, and I know that's terrible. I've played a good amount of it. I've started Blood and Wine, but my problem was that I played through The Witcher 3 when it first came out. Absolutely loved it. And then I lost my save file. And then when I went back to start the DLC, I had to just like start with a pre-made character, and it just didn't feel right to play, to play through that with like not my Geralt.
I know exactly what you mean.
So yeah, I tried to start over, and then I just like was kind of burned out with it. So what I'm doing now is, I played through The Witcher 1. I really wanted to play through The Witcher 2, but I just didn't think that I could justify spending the time, because I mean that's like another 70, 80 hours.
Yeah.
So I did get a save file that was basically like the same choices and everything that I made my first playthrough of The Witcher 2. So I imported that, so it feels much more like my Geralt now.
Nice.
Witcher 2 is fantastic though. The way it splits, I don't know if you got to this part, but there's a huge decision that you have to either choose one person over the other. And depending on who you choose, like the game completely plays out differently. Like there's the last 30 hours of the game are like completely different. It's like two different games basically.
Damn.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting whether you choose one person versus the other. So that's really cool. And then you can also, I don't know if I want to spoil this, but did you meet Letho in The Witcher 3?
He is the kind of assassin, right, from the second one.
Yeah, he's the main villain.
I didn't meet him, but I knew he was in the game.
Well, he can be in the game or he cannot be in the game depending on how Witcher
okay.
2 goes. Yeah, Witcher 2 is fantastic. I think it's the worst out of the three as far as gameplay goes. But I mean, it's still just a fantastic game.
It's the only one I've kind of not played extensively.
Okay.
So I definitely, hopefully, someone kind of brings out a mod that makes it more similar to The Witcher 3, because there's mods like in the works that are similar to that.
Lorcan,
so hopefully once those release, I'll go back to it.
Yeah, I would love for you to do that and just hear what you think. Lorcan says, when I bought the physical copy of The Witcher 1 many years ago, it came with a manual and guide book for the quests. Really neat. I have that guide, Lorcan. I bought the physical copy as well because that was back when you couldn't really. I mean, Steam was a thing, but nothing was really on Steam other than Valve's games. But yeah, I have that exact same physical copy. And it really is cool. Like, it's an actual guide that came with the game.
Man, I miss manuals and physical
I
copies
know,
of
right?
games.
Yeah,
they
me
were so
too.
cool.
But yeah, I mean, The Witcher is just so good. So you've finished the main game for Witcher 3, right?
Yeah, I kind of midway through last year. I got about 40 or 50 hours into a playthrough, and then kind of got sidetracked on new games that were releasing. So I went back to that save file, kind of caught myself up on where I was in the story. I'd kind of just done the on-crate stuff in Skellige. And then I kind of continued on as though there was no time gap in between. And it's now the second time I've ever beaten The Witcher 3 fully, without the DLCs, of course, because I'm now playing through the DLCs. I started up Hearts of Stone yesterday, and got a good couple hours into that. So,
do you have a favorite moment in the game?
Oof.
Or I mean, it can be a few different ones. Just anything that, like, I don't know, it's just really cool. I know you were telling me about the Last Wish.
Yeah, the Last Wish quest was one of especially as I just watched the show, playing the Last Wish quest, which goes into Yennefer and Geralt's backstory in the Djinn, and even some stuff that happens in the show and obviously in the book. That was really cool to experience. Also, the battle for Kaer Morhen was awesome.
Yeah,
especially as I got like 80%. Like, the only people I didn't get was Letho. And
I just got Letho. He's on his way to Kaer Morhen.
Yeah, because I simulated, or I didn't simulate a Witcher 2 save, it kind of, I guess, went down the default path
Yeah.
of not having Letho. So I ended up not getting him in Kaer Morhen, but everything went swimmingly. So other than that one thing, but
I mean, you could have just missed the quest to get Letho. It's crazy how easy it is to miss that quest.
really, is it like an exclamation mark
I
or is it on a
think
notice
it's
board?
just an exclamation mark.
Because there is a few exclamation marks I kind of never went to
Mhm.
because they're kind of just quests I consider that aren't really worth doing.
See, that's what's crazy to me because I just did a quest. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's crazy that you're doing that, but I don't blame you. But
hmm
it's just crazy how they put such amazing quests in to like these just insignificant areas that you might totally miss. Like I did a quest.
Yeah.
Did you do the one where the village is turned into pigs?
No.
So
That sounds
it's
amazing, though.
it is amazing. There's it's just it's a yellow exclamation mark. You come up
hmm
to this guy that is like pleading to these bandits to stop roasting this pig, and
Oh, man.
and this guy is like not all there. I mean, he's
hmm
you know he not quite a super high IQ, so you're trying to figure out what's going on, and he's like, they roasted him. They roasted Yadkus or whatever his name was, something like that. And so you like have the choice to kill the bandits or just like leave it be. And he's just like standing there in front of the pig, and they're like, he roasted him, and he feels so bad. And so you ask him, what happened, and he starts telling you in like very broken language because he's very very stupid and doesn't like really just say what happened. But
hmm
anyway, long story short, it turns out that these villagers found a like an underground temple with a bunch of gold, and they took the gold, and then it cursed them all and it turned them into pigs. And so there's like an entire village of just pigs, and you have to round up the pigs and take them back to the temple and then find the gold, and then bring the gold back, and then it lifts the curse. It's hilarious. And this whole temple, like there's a giant pig statue in it and everything.
Oh,
It's
my
so
God.
funny.
I
And
need to
just
find this quest now.
it's fantastic. And I mean, there's just so many just little things. Like one of the very first quests you get very, very early on is to find this guy's brother. So Witcher 3 kind
hmm
of takes place like in the middle of a war between Nilfgaard and Temeria, and the Nilfgaardians have pretty much like taken over now at this point, and so Temeria is kind of lost and they're under Nilfgaardian rule. And
hmm
so there's this Temerian that wants you to go and find his brother on the battlefield, and he pretty much knows that his brother is dead, but he just wants to find his body and just bury him. So it could be just like a simple quest where you just go find the body, you bring his bones back or whatever. But no, they just go the extra mile and just do something that I think is so cool, that you go to the battlefield and you find out that his brother actually like befriended a Nilfgaardian, and they were just like on the battlefield and got injured together, and they just like crawl into a little shack and are just basically waiting there to die. And they kind
hmm
of become friends, and like this whole conversation that they have, is just so interesting. And I just love things like that. It's just so well done.
Yeah, playing through The Witcher is honestly increased my hype levels for Cyberpunk like tenfold.
Yeah, me too. I think it's interesting too because I mean they do have source material that they're going off of with The Witcher, but
hmm
basically like all of the stuff in The Witcher takes place like after the book, so they kind of adapted their own
Yeah.
stories. So I think it proves that they can write really well and do all of this really well. I'm still trying to temper my expectations a little bit for Cyberpunk.
hmm
I mean, I know it's going to be amazing, but this is literally like the only thing that they have ever made is The Witcher.
I suppose, yeah, that's true.
Um, and I think it's also important to remember that like when The Witcher 3 came out, it had a bunch of bugs, which I
hmm
mean is just kind of is just kind of par for the course with open world games. I mean, it's very difficult to do open world games and not have bugs. But I'm expecting there's going to be some bugs, and it's not going to be a perfect game when Cyberpunk comes out. But it's easy to overlook that stuff, in my opinion.
It is kind of reassuring to know that they're going off some base material with like the Cyberpunk board game. There's kind of all that lore behind that they're using in the game, so it's not
Hmm.
all blind per
Yeah,
se. But like you say, I hadn't really thought about the fact they've only ever kind of created Witcher RPGs
it's
and never
crazy,
really
isn't it?
gone beyond that.
Yeah,
It's really weird to think about. Um, but yeah, I'm very very excited for Cyberpunk for sure.
yeah, and I'm excited too how involved the original creator is.
Hmm.
Because I mean, it seems like he's just all in it, and he's
Yeah, he
um,
loves it.
yeah. So that's really cool.
Although, did you see CD Projekt Red signed with the author
Yeah,
of the Witcher books for like another deal, which is pretty exciting.
yeah, and so everyone is talking about Witcher 4 and all that stuff.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean,
Not The Witcher 4 anyway.
I can
Like,
definitely
not
see
with
them
Geralt.
returning. Yeah, I don't think they'll go back to Geralt, but I mean, I can definitely see them returning to the world of The Witcher.
Hmm.
But I feel like that's way, way, way off. Um, I don't even know if they would do that after Cyberpunk. I feel like they may want to do Cyberpunk 2 or maybe even something just completely original again.
I mean, they did say they're going to have 2 games out by the end of 2021.
Did they?
Could a Witcher game? Yeah. CD Projekt Red kind of said they have 2 AAA games coming out by the end of 2021.
Oh wow.
So one of them Cyberpunk, and then one of them is unannounced, I guess. Which, seeing as they just renewed a contract, could be so that they can continue to work on and then release another Witcher game.
I just can't believe they would be able to put it out that fast.
I can't either, but you have to remember, since The Witcher 3, this company has grown
Yeah.
significantly,
Yeah, they're huge
both
now.
in skill and amount of staff
Hmm.
and all that. So
Yeah.
they're not exactly
Um,
short on money and resources.
One thing's for sure, we definitely don't have a lack of games to play
No,
over the
that
next
is
year.
for sure.
Mm, Anything else you want to talk about The Witcher?
Um, I'm very excited to play more, and I reckon next time we speak, I probably will have beaten Hearts of Stone and will be a fair ways through Blood and Wine, hopefully.
Cool. Yeah, I'm taking it pretty slow. I'm taking it very slow, honestly.
Hmm.
I'm really, really just soaking it in and really, really enjoying it. Um, I hope that I don't get burned out before before
Yeah,
I get to the DLC. That's kind of my only concern, but I don't think I will. Man, man. I don't know. It's just so good,
yeah.
and
I definitely kind of got that feeling.
it's been long enough now that it's been probably I don't know 2 or 3 years since I replayed The Witcher 3, and
Hmm.
also playing The Witcher 1 right before this just really reinvigorated my love for this series.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, towards the end of The Witcher 3, I didn't remember like anything other than the kind of main fight towards the end of the game. Everything else was like almost playing it blind again, which was
Hmm.
awesome.
While I was saying, someone suggested they might do something with Vesemir. I think that could be really cool, like a young
Yeah,
Vesemir or something. I
going into Vesemir's backstory would be cool.
Yeah, I honestly think I would rather just have like a completely original story within the Witcher universe, though. Like set
Would you
it.
still play a Witcher though?
Yeah, I think you would still play a Witcher, but I think it would be really cool if like you created your own character,
Hmm.
and like you could choose like which school of the Witcher you wanted to
Ooh,
be, like cat or what are the other ones?
bear, viper,
Yeah.
wolf. Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of really cool stuff that they could do with that.
Honestly, now you mention it, that could be pretty cool. I think it
Yeah.
would have to be set before Geralt's time because that's kind of the time of when witches are no longer being created
Yeah,
or whatever. But
that's true.
I can definitely see that being a thing
Yeah. The Witcher is great.
for sure. Play The Witcher if you haven't. It's always on sale. Just buy The Witcher 3 Game
Yeah.
of the Year edition when it's on sale.
I've been playing a few other things.
Hmm.
Just a few other things worth mentioning. I started Lego City Undercover. I'd never played a Lego game before.
What?
I know. I didn't realize how fun they are.
You've never wait.
Yeah, never
Lego
played a
City
Lego
Undercover is
game.
actually your first Lego game?
Yeah.
Like you've not played the Lego Star Wars games
Nope.
or the Batman?
I know. I don't know. I'd always thought that they were just kids games, which they are, but they're so fun.
I'm speechless, honestly.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I bought Lego Harry Potter,
Okay.
and I also got Lego Force Awakens.
I've not played that one.
I only got it because it was like $3 or something like
Oh,
that on
okay.
Green Man Gaming. But
Fair enough.
I heard it was pretty good actually.
Mhm.
And I'm also really excited for the Star Wars saga or
Oh my
Rise
god.
of Skywalker saga or whatever they're calling it.
Honestly, it's
Because
probably one of my most anticipated games.
yeah, because they're saying that like it's gonna take cover all 9 games, and
Hmm.
it's gonna be like open world where you can choose like which mission to do. It's not linear like the other ones have been.
Hmm.
I think it's voice acted. I think it's fully voice acted.
I think they're honestly even giving the option for it to be voice acted or not.
Hmm.
Like, if you don't want it to be voice acted, then they go back to the original kind of mime type comedy, which
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, the best. Um, but yeah,
I think that's one thing I like about Lego City Undercover so much is it's fully voice acted. I think that's really cool.
mm,
Um, but I don't know. Lego City is just so much fun. I didn't realize just how many puns and just how many
yep,
like things that towards other movies and things like that there are. And it's basically like GTA but in a Lego world.
yeah,
It's really fun. So
yep.
yeah, I'm really enjoying that.
Glad to hear it.
I played a tiny bit of Planet Zoo.
Hmm.
Just kind of did some tutorial stuff in that. I really like those games sometimes. I know you're not big into those games. But they're just kind of fun, relaxing games for me. I think the game is good. It's a little overwhelming, but the tutorial is
Mm.
really really good.
Yeah, I was
And
considering Planet Zoo for a long time, but kind of decided on something else in the end, I think.
I think I would recommend it if it drops in price like a good amount, maybe like half off.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. It's one of those games that like I could see myself getting into it and putting like 100 hours into it. But I feel like you usually don't play those games for too long.
No.
So if you're only going to play it for maybe 10 hours or so, then I think like 25-30 bucks would be pretty decent for it.
Hmm.
It's crazy how good the animals look though. Like they literally
Yeah.
look realistic, and how realistic they behave is really really interesting.
Yeah, it's incredibly impressive.
What else? I played a tiny bit of Red Dead Redemption 2. I started it up
Oh.
on PC and played through almost, well, I say a tiny bit. I played through almost the full prologue.
Hmm.
And man, I don't know. I that game is just such a struggle to play with the
Yeah.
controls. I'm going to play it. Like I'm going to fight through the controls whether I like it or not, because I am super interested in the story and I just love the cinematic approach to everything. But there's just like 18 different controls for doing so many simple things, even on PC. I feel like it's
Hmm.
honestly even more complicated on PC.
It
I
can be,
I
yeah.
may just switch back to using a controller. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just overwhelming to me, I guess. But I will definitely go through it at some point in the nearest future. My goal is to finish that game before the big games start hitting in March.
Okay. That's a fair goal, I think.
Yeah. Besides that, played a little bit of Call of Duty. They had a really cool Call of Duty kind of Christmas thing that was going on that was called Snow Fight instead of Gunfight,
Hmm.
and it was literally just throwing snowballs at each other.
That's pretty cool.
So it was like, it was the gunfight maps, but you were just you had snowballs instead of guns. So that was
Hmm.
fun. But I think that's pretty much it as far as what I've been playing. Anything else you want to throw
Cool.
in?
I honestly think that's it for me, games wise.
That is a lot of games.
That is a lot of games.
Um, I think so. What we are going to do is we are gonna go through our personal top fives for 2019, and then we wanted to. Well, we have a few different things that we want to do. We want to have kind of a games of the decade discussion.
Hmm.
And then also, I think it would be fun to do like most anticipated games for this year.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think that we're going to get through all of this today.
No.
I think we may even save the most anticipated games for next week because there's not a whole lot that's coming out in the first couple of months.
Hmm.
So we don't have to do those right away. But I think what we should do is maybe talk about the movies that we watched first, and then let's save the top fives and GOTYs for the end. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
So, did you finish The Witcher?
Yeah, I'm all 8 episodes done,
Okay,
and I desperately want more.
nice. I think
I kind of finished it and cursed at my TV, saying I want more.
I think you're much more hot on the Witcher TV show than I am.
Hmm.
I'm enjoying it, but I'm not loving how much it skips around, and um, that's my biggest complaint with it. I wish that they would just kind of take it a little bit slower with things.
Hmm.
But I'm enjoying it still. I need to finish it. I think
How many
I'm
episodes in are you?
I think I'm on the 6th episode right now.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
I think I finished the 6th episode.
the time jumps kind of resolved in the end, in my opinion. Like it all came together pretty easily to understand.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it seems like it's doing really well. I mean, it's already renewed for second
Hmm.
season, so I'm definitely excited that they're making it. And I mean, it's obviously made more people excited for The Witcher because did you
Yeah,
see that The Witcher just hit over 100,000 concurrent players on Steam?
it's insane.
That
I
is
think
insane.
it's doing better than it ever has before.
Yeah.
And for like a almost 5-year-old single player RPG, that's just
Yeah.
insane.
That is crazy.
Well deserved
I
though.
Yeah, absolutely. I also watched Rise of Skywalker back
Hmm.
on Christmas, and so I feel like I have to say this every time I'm talking about Star Wars. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. Like I
Hmm.
always enjoy them. I was a big Star Wars fan when I was a kid. I liked the prequels when those came out,
Hmm.
um, and all the other movies. Like I guess I just don't look too much into them. I don't think too hard about
Yeah.
them. I enjoyed Rise of Skywalker. I um I mean, we can say the main villain, right? Because I mean, he's in
I
the
mean,
trailers. You hear him.
yeah, you hear him in the trailers, I guess you can say.
So I felt like it was just kind of unnecessary to bring Palpatine back.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really understand why they did that. I guess my whole thing with this last trilogy is it just seems like they didn't have any kind of a plan
No.
of what they were going to do when they started this because I really really liked The Force Awakens and I thought it was a
Hmm.
really good setup for kind of a good journey of Rey. But then the next one was just it was just bad. Like
Yeah.
the stuff with Leia and like how she somehow survived and like Superman her way back into the ship after getting blown out and the weird stuff between Ray um and
Rose.
Ben, huh?
Or Ben? Which one? Oh, Ray. No, sorry, I thought you said Finn. Ray and Ben, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the weird stuff between Ray and Ben. was weird. I don't know. Well, Finn's whole character arc, like I don't really even know what the point of his character was now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I just don't look too much into these movies. I just enjoy them as like fun blockbuster space fantasy movies, and I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. I want to talk to you about the ending, but we probably shouldn't.
No.
I didn't understand, or I didn't really get why she said what she said at the end.
Mhm.
Um,
I think I know what you mean.
and also the thing that she had, I didn't really understand where she got that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay.
It's been a few weeks now since I've seen it, so my memory
Let's
is
talk about
relatively
it
hazy.
non spoiler or spoilery when we're just talking alone.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, again, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I feel like people just think way too, or just way too critical on these movies.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I think about this a lot. If the original trilogy had come out now, I feel like it would get destroyed because
Mhm.
like the plots are not that great and not really that well told. I mean, yeah, there's like a really, really, really good twist um, in Return of the Jedi.
Mhm.
But I mean, other than that, like it's not really that groundbreaking, and there's like all kinds of inconsistencies and things. So yeah, watch these movies and just enjoy them for what they are, but don't think too hard about them.
For sure.
I also watched, or I've started watching Chuck. I don't know if you've ever seen Chuck. I don't know if anybody else
I've
has
never
ever
even
seen
heard of
Chuck.
it.
Chuck is fantastic. It's a it's a series that came on probably 10 years ago. It's on Amazon Prime now, at least in the
Mhm.
US. And it's really really silly, but I love it. It's a story about a guy that works at a electronics store that sells just like video games, and it's like
Mhm.
Best Buy here in the States. If
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have that.
No, we don't, but I know what Best Buy is.
Okay, yeah, it's basically like Best Buy. It's called Buy More.
Mhm.
Anyway, he works for that, and he gets sent an email from his friend that works at the CIA that basically downloads what they call the intersect into his brain, and it's like all of the government secrets and everything like that. And
Okay.
so this very average guy now has all of this information in his head, and he's like a very big geek. And
Mhm.
he is sent these two protectors, one from the NSA, one from the CIA, to watch over him because he has all of the government secrets in his head, and like that was the only copy that they had.
Oh, okay.
So he has to go on missions with them now, and like he will see something and have a flash that something is happening, or the information will come to him all of a sudden. It's just really well done. It's silly, and it's just a fun kind of comedy drama that
Mhm.
came on a while back, and I really like it. So I'm glad to see that it's back on.
Sounds interesting. Definitely sounds silly, like you say, but
I feel like you would really like it.
I'll have to see it's on Prime if it's on Prime in the UK.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's got Miranda from Mass Effect 2.
Oh yeah.
She plays like the CIA agent is her. She plays
Mhm.
her. But yeah, it's good. It's not amazing, but it's just fun to
Yeah.
watch. It's a really fun series.
Cool.
Let's see. Koala says they were made more with the effects in mind than the story. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when Star Wars, the original Star Wars, came out in 1977, like my dad used to talk about this. Like it was amazing,
Mhm.
seeing something like that because nothing had really ever been done like that. And I agree. But again, I don't think the story is that mind bending or anything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and I think let's talk about our top 5 games of 2019. You want to?
Yeah, sure.
So, what do you think the best way to do this would be? Do you want to like alternate?
Yeah, I guess we could do number 5 each, then number 4 each, and then
Well,
etc.
I don't know if I have a number one.
Well, I suppose we
So
could just list names off the list
also,
because I'm not sure about my order
I
either.
think I'm only gonna have four,
Okay.
unless I am forgetting one. I mean, I could throw another one in, but I feel like the top four that I have are just all easily my favorite, and like either one of these um, could be
Yeah.
my game of the year. So I guess why don't you go ahead and say one of yours, and we'll kind of talk about it. They're probably going to be kind of similar.
Yeah, I kind of have four very kind of, I guess, standard game of the years, and then or like top five, and then one of them is kind of not as kind of mainstream. So I guess I'll start with that one, which is Luigi's Mansion 3,
Okay.
which I placed in my list at number 4 of 5, but I'm like not 100% at all on the listing, so it's just in my top 5 games of the year. No
Um,
apparent order though.
I loved Luigi's Mansion.
I did too. It was I hadn't played any of the Luigi's Mansion games before. Um, I went into it pretty much completely blind. It just looked like quite a bit of fun. Um, I was looking for a Switch game to play at the time, and then it turned out to be one of the most fun, most charming games like I'd played throughout the year.
Yeah,
Um,
that game was just pure fun. Like
mhm.
there were a few things that got a little annoying, like chasing the cat
Yep.
went on a little bit too long. The final boss fight was a little tedious to me. But for the most part, like 95% of the rest of the game was just absolute fun. And
Yeah.
I loved playing that game.
Yeah. I think I just appreciated it for like how genuine and charming it was. And I mean, the level design on some of the floors was amazing. The kind of vacuum felt amazing to play around with. The physics in that game are really
Hmm.
good. Um, I mean, the graphics are even really good for a Switch game
It looked
at
so good.
times.
Yeah. I mean, it's
It really
cartoony, but
does. Yeah.
yeah, it looks fantastic.
Hmm. And of course, it's. I mean, it's like a Mario Luigi game, so the story's not all that apparent. But I think based on pure kind of fun and charm, the game definitely makes the top 5 of the year list
Yeah,
for me.
absolutely. I mean, for me, I think it's easily a game of the year contender.
Hmm.
All of these, well, on my list, I guess I'm kind of similar to you. Like
Yeah.
I have four that could easily, I would be fine with either one of these for being my game of the year.
Hmm.
And the other one, which I guess I'll just go ahead and say one of mine now,
Okay.
um, is Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think I would put this at my game of the year,
Yeah.
but just the amount of time that I've spent with it and the amount of fun that I've had with it, it easily deserves to be in my top five. Um, I I loved the story. I thought the story was really good. The campaign was good. I didn't think it was like the best Call of Duty I've played. I think Call of Duty, the original Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4,
Yeah.
was a little bit better, but the campaign was still really solid. The graphics and the missions were just fantastic. Just how good they looked, how realistic it was. And then the multiplayer, which I normally don't play much multiplayer in the Call of Duty games. I always play a tiny bit and then I fall off really quick. But this one
Hmm.
I've just been playing so much of. I think I've played, I don't know, probably 80 hours of it now.
Damn.
And I'm like at 106 or something like that in rank. So I don't know. It just keeps me coming back. I've kind of fallen off of it over the past couple of weeks,
Hmm.
just because Christmas and playing a lot of The
Yeah.
Witcher and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I still enjoy going back every time. What's up, French Toast? How are you? But yeah, not much else to say about Call of Duty. I feel like you're gonna know if you're gonna like that game or not.
Yeah.
If you like Call of Duty games, you'll like it. If you don't, then you probably won't like it.
It is definitely one of the darker Call of Duty campaigns, though. So if you're kind of a bit squeamish, I guess, then maybe a bit of a warning if you're yet to
Yeah,
play it and
I
were kind of
mean,
planning on it.
Modern Warfare 2 had, the whole no Russian thing.
Yeah,
I feel like that
I don't
was.
think I don't think Modern Warfare has anything on that level, but it comes pretty close.
It's got one thing in particular, which is like a torture scene, which you can actually
Yeah, that's true.
choose to take part in or not, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I chose not to personally.
Interesting. I kind of wanted to choose not to,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I wanted to see what it was about.
That's fair enough.
um. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. It's definitely mature for that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
But yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I think it's probably my fifth favorite game if I had to rank it of this
Hmm.
year.
Well, I guess another one off my list is the RE2 remake. Um, I'm one of the more easily scared people that I know who kind of forces themselves to play these types of games. But the first ever horror game I fully kind of sat down and played through was Resident Evil 7. And then followed by that, I played the likes of Dead Space, tried out Bioshock and notoriously didn't really like it. Um, I played Alan Wake in the DLC. And so RE7 kind of sparked my love for the horror games in which you can defend yourself most of the time. And so going into the RE2 remake, I was incredibly excited because the game looked incredible in the lead up. And I think it paid off extremely well. The game played incredibly well, looked really, really good. The RE engine is just incredible. The amount of performance you can get out of that engine while maintaining the level of kind of fidelity they have in those graphics is incredibly impressive. And I'm glad they keep using that engine for like Devil May Cry 5. They'll be using it for RE3
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully more games to come. But yeah, RE2 remake was terrifying at times for sure, especially with Mr. X. I found him particularly scary. Yeah, even though I know for some people he became kind of a nuisance in the end. Um, but I mean, even just seeing some of the mods that came out of the game for like the Mr. X, like you could get Thomas the Tank Engine to replace Mr. X. Or I saw Dr. Disrespect was Mr. X in someone's
Oh
stream
my
today.
goodness.
That was hilarious. And it was playing like Dr. Disrespect sound clips and all that. It was very, very funny.
Did you
It's just, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, did you do like all four of the campaigns, like Leon's, Claire's, and then the second playthroughs of each?
I think I only did both Leon A and Claire A. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I did both B sides.
Okay.
I may have done one of the B sides though. I think I did Leon's B side, but not Claire's.
Yeah, it's funny. I realized just not too long ago that I hadn't done Claire's B side. Um,
Hmm.
so I played through it just recently. And so I finished out all four of those. And yeah,
Nice.
RE2 was absolutely on my list too. I think this could easily be my game of the year.
Yep,
Um,
it's
it
definitely up there.
it is just so good. It's so video gamey in so many
Yeah.
ways, but it's like the best part of video games. Just I don't know, the level design is so well done. How you're in the police station and everything is locked off, and you have to just slowly go through and start to unlock everything, and everything starts to open up. Um, I didn't like. I mean, to say I didn't like is too harsh, but the police station part was by far my favorite. Once you got down into the sewers in that area, I didn't like that as much, but I still
Hmm.
enjoyed it a lot. But definitely the police station is just maybe one of my favorite settings in a video game ever.
Hmm. What
And
did you think of the orphanage, by the way? That whole kind of scene.
um, I mean, I thought it was a nice kind of area to change up things. It was definitely pretty creepy. Wait,
Yeah.
so playing as you only do that if you're playing as Claire, right?
Yeah, because playing as Claire, you chase after the little girl,
Right.
but Leon, you don't.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely pretty creepy and weird to be chased by that guy. I love. There's a scene that they pull right out of. Oh shoot, I'm forgetting the name. My favorite horror movie ever, where Jack Nicholson rips through the door with
Oh, The Shining.
yeah, The Shining. There's a
Yeah,
scene that they kind of make look just like that scene,
yeah, I
where
remember that.
he's chopping through the door, which is really cool. And you can only look at it for like a second, because if you not even a second, but if you look at it longer, then you're dead.
Hmm.
Hey, reality, what's up? How are you? But yeah, Resident Evil 2 was just so good from the beginning to the start. And then being able to play through the multiple campaigns was fun. I do wish
Yep.
that there was a little bit more diversity in each one of the campaigns.
Hmm.
Some things don't really make much sense, like going through, because they're supposed to be going through this together.
Hmm.
Um, but it's still super fun. I even got into like kind of semi speed running that game, more
Hmm.
so just to get the S plus rank, which you had to do like, I can't remember what it was, like hardcore in under 3.5 hours or something like that. It was
That sounds about
insane.
right.
So yeah, getting that was a really cool achievement. But yeah, just the replayability of that game is really cool too.
Have you ever
Um,
thought about doing a randomizer mod for that game?
are there randomizer mods for it?
I mean, the guy I was watching today with the Doctor's Respect mod, that he was playing with a randomizer. Um,
I guess
it
it
was
would
pretty
just
cool to watch.
would it just randomize the enemies, or would it randomize like where the
No, it
keys are?
randomizes where the keys are and everything, so it kind of
Hmm.
completely messes up the order in which you do things. But it
I
doesn't, like, it can't soft lock you, I don't think.
Yeah, that would be my concern. I would definitely be interested in it, but at the same time, I feel like almost always those randomizer mods are just not as enjoyable as the original way the developers made it to be, because it's like,
Yeah.
obviously the developers made it to be this way for a reason. But I mean, I would definitely be interested in checking it out. What's next?
Um, well, the game I put in second was Metro Exodus,
Oh, this is a game I haven't played.
which is still completely unbelievable to me.
I know.
Because it's an amazing game. It didn't run all that well on release, but it's definitely improved since. Metro Exodus is the final, well, quote unquote, final game of the Metro trilogy. Um, I thought it developed on the core gameplay of the Metro series incredibly well. It kind of introduced some semi-open world mechanics, and there was actually incentive to go off and explore the open world mechanics. When you got the opportunity to, which was really nice. It wasn't like they just put the semi-open worldness in there for the sake of it. Like, there was actually incentive to go out and explore. Um, I think the shooting was like the shooting mechanics in Metro Exodus is probably the best of the trilogy. Like the realism, like it feels kind of Escape from Tarkov slash Stalker level of
Hmm.
good. Um, I thought the story panned out really well. I thought the ending was suitable. I welled up towards the end a bit um, because I'd kind of played 2033 and Last Light beforehand. So it was kind of like a continuing adventure. And then seeing the end was kind of sad because I love that series so much. But I mean, even I'll include the DLC in this because they released one of the two DLCs last year, which was the last kernel or the two kernels DLC, and that is easily one of the best like story focused DLCs I think I've played for a single player game. Um, it is really, really, really good, and it's incredibly cheap too,
Yeah. I've got to play it.
for sure.
It's definitely on my list of games to play. I don't know. It's one of those things, where it's like you know that there's a game that you're gonna like, but I've started it up a couple of times and just have a hard time getting into it.
Yeah, I started up. I mean, even just again like 2 days ago, and the first 30 minutes to an hour of that game are kind of a slog
Yeah.
at times. Like, you can't skip any of the dialogue or anything. And that can kind of drag on, especially if you're trying to get to the meat of the game,
Hmm.
which comes really soon after that, which is why it's kind of disheartening um, when it's kind of like a slog to get through the first hour, because then the game gets really, really good kind of just after that.
Yeah. I will definitely play it at some point.
I'm glad. I really think you'll see the Stalker comparisons.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure that they're there because playing Metro 2033,
Hmm.
I was like, oh, this is just like Stalker, but it's just much more self-contained and much more well optimized. And
Yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot of devs that went from Stalker to making Metro 2033, so that's why it's
hmm,
so similar.
that's true.
Yeah, so that one was not on my list. I'm gonna throw out one that I'm guessing is not on your list, which
Okay.
is Control.
Yep. It's a good guess. It's not on my list.
Yeah, I loved Control. I thought the minute you start that game and you walk into the oldest house, and just the quirkiness and the weirdness of that game. The visuals were fantastic. The exploration of just wandering through the oldest house and just figuring out new things about it and reading. I usually read a good amount of stuff, but in this game, like, I was reading every single note that I came across. I just found the lore so interesting, the backstory so interesting. Um, I I felt like it fell off a little bit towards the end, um, but I still just had a fantastic time with that game. My really only complaint with that game was the map is terrible. It was always so confusing trying to figure out like where to go for some missions, because it wouldn't tell you if it was like on your level or a next level up or something like that. But that was really just my only thing that annoyed me about that game.
Hmm.
But everything else I just loved. I thought the gameplay felt so good, and yeah, really really fun game to me.
Cool. I think I kind of pinned down the part of that game that ruined it for me, which I think was the performance, which is completely not,
Mm,
um, I guess, the core game's fault. I guess it kind of is in that it wasn't optimized incredibly well.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that kind of definitely detracted from my experience, because I was constantly like going into the settings, messing about with stuff, because it never really looked right or felt right for
yeah,
me.
that can definitely be annoying.
Yeah. But maybe in subsequent playthroughs, when it's more optimized or I've got a better PC, I'll enjoy it more. Who knows?
Were you trying to run um, RTX?
No, I didn't have RTX on at all.
Mm. Hmm. I don't know. I felt like that game. I felt like I didn't have any trouble running that game.
Yeah, I kind of just had really bad texture pop in sometimes. Sometimes textures wouldn't load at all and it would be like a blurry surface.
I know
Um,
that on consoles it was really a mess. There were a bunch of people having trouble with it.
mhm. Yeah, I kind of just, I don't know. My PC was perfectly capable of running it according to the specs and stuff, but
Yeah.
it just didn't pan out.
Well, I'm really curious. We should guess. I feel like you're gonna be able to guess what my next one, my last one's gonna be. I really don't know what your next one's gonna be though, because well, okay, I'll just make a guess. Um,
Well, I've got two more to say.
oh, okay. Wait,
Yeah, because I've got a top five. You did a top four.
yeah, but I put one more on there for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Wait,
Well, I
how?
said, we said three so far. Oh, no, it's
Call of
because,
Duty, Luigi's Mansion 3, RE2, and Control. That's four for me, and then I've got one more.
yeah, I've got Metro Exodus, Luigi's Mansion 3, and the RE2 remake. It's because we both had RE2, I think.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
shall I say my other one and then we'll both go to our number ones or our last
I want
ones?
to guess. I'm gonna
Okay.
guess your last two are gonna be Sekiro and Death Stranding.
You're spot on.
Okay.
I don't think that was very hard to guess, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We should have guessed like all five. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll talk. Which one do you want to talk about last?
I'll talk about Death Stranding last.
Okay.
So I
So
guess your one, or is it Sekiro?
yeah, it's Sekiro.
Okay.
Yeah, Sekiro. I think if I had to choose one, I think I would probably put Sekiro on the top for me.
Hmm.
Um, but again, it could easily be Control, RE2, Luigi's Mansion 3, or Sekiro for me. Like they're just so
Yeah.
close, and they're all very different games too. Um, but yeah, I just had such a good time with Sekiro. I mean, I am a massive, massive, massive Soulsborne fan. Ever since discovering the original Dark Souls and playing through that, and then playing every single thing since then that has come out from FromSoft, and just absolutely loving everything about it. Um, with that being said, I think Sekiro may be like at the bottom of my favorite Souls type game
Yeah.
from FromSoft. But again, that's like, I often say that Dark Souls 2 is my least favorite Souls game, but it's still one of my favorite games of all time because it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, yeah, the things that I didn't like about it were just not having stamina. That was kind of a big thing. I felt
Hmm.
like that was kind of a big departure from the Souls genre, was not having stamina. Um, I felt like it was really, really difficult, like a little too difficult at times.
Hmm.
Um, and I still haven't actually beat it.
Really?
I still haven't beat the actual final boss. I got the bad ending the first
Oh,
time I
okay.
played through, but I still haven't beat that actual final boss. And then there's
He
a
was
optional
a
boss
bastard.
also that I haven't beaten.
Yeah,
Maybe a
there was
couple of
that.
optional bosses that I haven't beaten.
There was an optional boss towards the very, very end of the game that I skipped just because I knew I was going to get so mad if I tried to beat him. I think he's the hardest boss in the game,
Yeah,
um, the
it's just
optional one, and then there's the
ridiculous.
final one.
Yeah. But yeah, still with all that being said, like I still just had such a good time, and I just always do with these games.
Hmm.
Just going through and just exploring these beautiful worlds and just coming upon, these bosses and trying to get past them and getting so frustrated. I just love it. It's really, really good. And I really love the setting that it's set in. I think
Yep.
there's some beautiful set pieces. Um, I think too, it's worth mentioning that the story is actually pretty good in this one.
Hmm.
Uh,
There's also
the
multiple endings.
Yeah, the quote story in previous Souls games has not really been much of a story. It's much more just lore based.
Hmm.
But this one, I think, is much more of an interesting, well told story. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
much all I have to say about Sekiro.
I think, like you say, I agree that it's the weakest. Well, I don't even want to say the weakest. It's like um, the lesser of goods amongst From Software's releases because all of their games are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Um, I think we're pretty much the same reason wise, like why we think it deserves to be down there. Except I think um, not having really any gear progression was a big miss for me.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
not
like having to
not even
stick with the same
really
sword and armor
not
was.
even leveling up. Like, I mean, you
Yeah.
leveled up, but it was just one stat.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good point.
I thought that was a big thing missing from the game,
Hmm.
especially like considering FromSoft's previous games. But I think it's definitely up there as one of the best looking FromSoft games, if not the best looking. Like you say, some of the set pieces in that game, like the boss fight with the ape, that whole area is just amazing
Yeah,
looking. Um,
I
Personally, I didn't
think
struggle too much difficulty wise. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I feel like I like Bloodborne aesthetically more.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's just a personal choice because I think I just like that Victorian aesthetic more
Yeah.
than feudal Japan. And I mean they're very
Yep.
very different, but it's close. I think it would be kind of a tie between Bloodborne and Sekiro for me as far as aesthetically. I don't know, man. There's now that I think about it, did you go to the area in Sekiro that I can't remember the name of it, but it's like it's after you fight that boss on the bridge,
Yep.
and it's like a complete hidden area.
I
Um,
think I know the one you mean.
and it's like a big water area.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That area is beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of really big, beautiful set pieces in it. It's really
Mm-hmm.
tough. I think I'm still gonna have to say it's a tie between Sekiro and Bloodborne as far as aesthetics.
I think I'm the same, except that I prefer kind of the feudal Japan look over the Victorian style
Mm,
stuff.
okay.
I think they both look amazing, but I'm really into like, well, not really into it, but like into how it looks,
Yeah.
feudal Japan type stuff. So yeah.
Anything else to say about Sekiro?
Um, you really need to beat that final boss.
I do. I know. You're the same, Koala. You like the feudal Japan look more. All right, Squash. So tell me
Death
about.
Stranding.
So would you say this is your goatee?
I think it's. I
You
think
don't
it's.
have to
I
say.
mean, I think any of the games I've said could be
Yeah.
game of the year. Um, but I want to preface this by saying I've not played any Metal Gear games extensively. The only one I have played I didn't like, so I have no kind of
Which
love
one
for
was that?
Kojima.
5.
Yeah, 5,
Okay.
and I didn't really like that at all. So I have no like outrageous amount of love for Kojima.
Mm-hmm.
But man, Death Stranding is just so unique and different, and it all, in my head at least, works and comes together well. And just how ambitious it is, in my mind, like makes it game of the year contender. Because I thought the gameplay was, while not the most exciting thing to watch, at least, was pretty enticing to play and kind of um, kept you focused on the game, which was nice, rather than just blankly wandering and all that. There was actually something to do while wandering, and it never felt boring, even though that's one of the most um, like criticized things about the game is that people say it's boring. I never personally found it boring.
Yeah, I
Um,
absolutely agree with you. And I never understood the people that say that it's just a walking sim because
yeah,
it's absolutely not. Like they literally gamified walking to where you have to do things while you're walking and delivering things. And I should say, like, I think this would probably be on my list as well if I had finished it, but I haven't finished it yet. So there's a
yeah.
lot of games that, there's a lot of
Finishing
games
it
that I
definitely
haven't.
pushed it towards game of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that I didn't finish this year that probably would be on my list if I had finished them. Outer Worlds is another one.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, Disco Elysium is a
yeah.
perfect example of one game that could easily been in my top 5 had I beaten it. But yeah,
Um, yeah, I think that's really cool though. I mean, I think it says a lot that like have a pretty unbiased opinion about Kojima and going
hmm
into this pretty blind, not playing any other games. Um, I think that that's pretty interesting, and I'm still very interested in the game. Like I still want to go back to it and finish it.
yeah, I definitely think you should because the last few hours of that game are really really good. Sure, it's pretty cutscene heavy, but it never really got um, kind of tedious in my opinion. Like I was always interested in watching what was to come next until it concluded eventually.
Yeah. What do you do in reality? Deleting messages?
Mod Rampage.
um, yeah. So let's see. I had just to list them again, I had Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Luigi's Mansion 3, Resident Evil 2, Control, and Sekiro. And your
Yep.
top 5 was...
I had Resident Evil 2, Luigi's Mansion 3, Sekiro, Metro Exodus, and Death Stranding.
Some good games. I mean, it's weird because, you know, this year felt pretty underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, these games alone, like, I don't know, you know, not that
They
long
were
ago,
pretty good.
if any one of these games would have come out, we would have just been so happy with them. Then
Yeah.
it just shows just how good of a place we are with gaming. I think it'd be worth mentioning maybe a few other games that we probably played. Some of them we didn't finish. I mean, I think Fallen Order should get a little bit of a nod just because, like, it was a really good Star Wars game. It wasn't perfect. It had a lot of issues, but I definitely enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah, if I were to have to say another 5 games, I think Modern Warfare and Fallen Order would both be in there. Gears 5 would be in there for me personally. Destiny 2 Shadowkeep was really, really good in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And probably Days Gone would be another one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Reality, thank you so much for gifting that sub to Insidious Koala. Thank you so much. Apex Legends came out this year. That is bizarre to me that game came out. I think that's worth mentioning. I mean, I played a good amount of that, honestly.
I played a solid 200 or 300 hours.
Gracious.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that did some really cool things for the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Outer Worlds, like I still want to finish that. Are you going to finish Outer Worlds, or you think?
No, I'm not going back.
Okay.
I mean, especially after playing Disco Elysium, I think that ruined Outer Worlds for me.
Maybe I should play Outer Worlds before Disco then.
Probably.
Devil May Cry 5, I think that's worth mentioning. That's another game that I kind of want to go back to. Like, I'm not normally a hack and slash fan, but I thought it was just really fun, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Death Stranding, of course. Pokemon, I still want to try. Fire Emblem Three Houses is absolutely a game that I intend on finishing. For anybody that hasn't played that and is interested in it, my recommendation would be to play on the hard setting, because the easy mode, or the normal or whatever they call it, is just way, way, way too easy, and it's kind of frustrating.
For someone like me.
Yes, absolutely, okay. Because it's frustrating because I went into that game and everybody said like, oh, the Fire Emblem games are like really, really difficult, and so you need to play on the easy setting. Well, they only have like normal and hard, and then they also have permadeath and non-permadeath. So my recommendation would be to play on hard with non-permadeath.
Okay.
That way, like, you know, if you mess up, you can just go back and get your character back or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the normal mode is just so easy. Like, I was literally just 30 hours in, and like I was literally just basically the game was playing it by itself, because it has a thing that if you know like you're going to win a battle, you can just kind of have it autoplay. Mm-hmm. And so that was basically all I was doing, because it was just, I was way, way over leveled. So yeah, I want to go back through that and play on hard, and I think it's going to be much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I've been contemplating getting into it, but just wondering whether it's my kind of thing.
I think you would like it. I think you would like it if you like XCOM, because that's kind of the main reason that I wanted to get into it. Plus, it does have some kind of Persona things in it. It's got some interesting social stuff to it, but the story is also really interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
Outer Wilds is definitely a game that I want to play.
Yeah, I would play that, but I've kind of seen the ending and pieced stuff together, so it kind of ruins it for me.
Borderlands 3 also came out. I definitely want to play through that. I'm not expecting it to be amazing, but it's a Borderlands game, and I'm still interested in checking it out. Metro Exodus, of course. Gears 5. Man, I don't know. I just don't know if I can get back into it. I want to.
Hmm.
Um, Total
I
War 3,
definitely think I'm in the lesser side of like people who
really liking it.
enjoyed Gears 5 a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people liked it, but I think a lot of people just said, "Oh, like, oh, it's a Gears game if you like Gears." And I just don't think I like Gears too much, which I
Yeah.
hate because I want to. But I don't know. I'll never say never. I may go through it again at some point. Total War 3 Kingdoms, I kind of want to check out. I always kind of like the Total War games, never really get very far into them.
Hmm.
The Division 2, I kind of want to play through. Like, if nothing else, just the single player part or just like
Have you
the
not played any of that?
tiny, tiny bit.
Okay. I really, really enjoyed my time with the Division 2.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have. Leveling used to be a big hassle in Fire Emblem games. Yeah, French. That's what everyone told me. That it was really really difficult, and so that's why I put it on normal. But I just over leveled so fast, and
Hmm.
my main character, I had like two or three main characters that were just destroying everyone. All right. Baba Is You. I kept hearing so many good things about that. I kind of want to check that out. It's kind of a weird puzzle game. Did you play Bloodstained at all?
No, that's not my kind of thing. Like Castlevania type side scroller stuff, I'm not into.
Did you play Hollow Knight?
Yes, I have played Hollow Knight.
Did you like Hollow Knight?
I didn't like Hollow Knight the first time I played it, but the second time round I got relatively far through it.
I think you should check out. I've already blinked on the name. Bloodstained.
You think?
I think you should check. It's on Game Pass. It's free.
Oh, that's fair, actually.
I mean, it's worth
I just don't
checking
like
out.
the anime type style.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's one of those things that like if you don't have any other games to play, then check it out. But I mean, when do we
Hmm.
not have any games to play?
Yeah.
But I
I'm
don't know
rather stacked at the moment.
if you just get that itch for that type of game,
Hmm.
a Metroidvania type game, then I think it's pretty good. I had never played a Castlevania game before either, um, but the gameplay is really solid. I think it's really fun. Oh yeah, Plague Tale: Innocence came out this year.
Yeah,
I was
that
not
was a solid game.
I was not hot on that nearly as a bunch of other people were.
Hmm.
I thought it was really good. I just didn't think it was like fantastic like a lot of people said it was.
Hmm.
Astral Chain came out. I thought that was okay. Um, just looking really quick. Rage 2, that was
Flop.
that really makes me sad. I was really hoping that game would have been good.
Yeah.
Days Gone, like you said, I definitely want to get back into that. I would like to finish that game because I did kind of enjoy the story and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna play through that 100% of the way through when the PS5 comes out because I just can't play it on a base PS4.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, oh, and I'd also like to give a very big nod to Anno 1800 because I really,
Hmm.
really, really enjoy that game. I probably would have put that on my top five if I had finished that. Although you can't really finish an Anno game, but I played probably a solid 25 hours of that and really enjoyed it. Also, Age of Wonders Planetfall came out this year.
Hmm.
I really, really, really want to play more of that. It's kind of a mix between like a Civ game and like an XCOM game. It's like the overworld part is like Civ, and then
Hmm.
you do your battles in tactical turn-based like XCOM, and it's really cool.
Yeah, honestly,
Um,
I watched someone do kind of a rundown of their favorite game of the years, and Anno 1800 ended up being their favorite. And seeing some of the gameplay for it and what they were saying about it, it honestly kind of interested me. But who knows?
yeah, if I think if you want to get into that game, I think I would recommend 2070.
Hmm.
I think it does a really good job at introducing things to you, and I personally like the future a little bit more than going into the past. Now, if you're more into like the 1800s style and
Yeah.
setting, then you may go towards 1800. But the 2070 was really, really cool. I really
I
liked
think I have 2070 because my dad was into that for a long while.
it. It can get addicting, I warn you.
Yeah.
I put like 500 hours into it in like a month.
Damn.
um,
Yeah, I'll wait till I'm free on games
yeah.
to play.
Any other games that came out this year that you can think of that are worth mentioning?
Well, Cyberpunk comes out this year.
Sorry, last year.
I don't know.
That was the main ones that I could see. I mean, there's some other games like Mortal Kombat 11, but I mean, neither one of us are really into that.
No.
I heard a lot of people really liked that Untitled Goose Game. Um, I think we've pretty much hit everything as far
I
as
think
last year,
so.
2019. Well, I guess. How are you feeling? Do you want to talk about some games of the decade,
Um,
or do you want to
I
save
kind of
that?
have I kind of have something planned in 20 minutes.
All right. I think we
But
should probably maybe we can tell everyone a little bit about what we're planning on doing with that.
yeah, okay.
So, Squash somehow has come up with his top 3 games of the decade, which I don't
My
know how that's
personal
even
ones.
possible.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun for you to tell us those, and then me tell you all the amazing games that you left out. Do you want to just list them off really quick, or do you want to just wait?
I mean, I have a list of 7 games, and I kind of in my head cut it down to 3 of those. Technically, it's 4, but I'm counting it as a franchise. I'll just list off the 3 that I thought of in my head, which is The Last of Us, Witcher 3, and the Destiny franchise.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, those are my personal ones. They aren't, I think, in my head, they're kind of games that were the best of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
And then my 3 ones that I enjoyed the most personally and got the most out of.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I mean those make sense to me for you.
Hmm.
Wait, you said The Witcher 3, Last of Us, and Destiny series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how in the world I'm gonna. I don't think there's any way I'm gonna be able to pick 3, but I guess so. Let's tell everybody what I think. I think we should do anyway. We haven't really
Okay.
talked much about this, but
That's all right.
I think what would be fun is to just go through the years, starting
Yep.
with 2010, and just kind of just just throw out any game that is interesting. I mean, there's going to be a lot of games because 2010
Mhm.
alone had a huge number of games. 24-hour stream confirmed. I feel like we could
Yeah.
honestly
We could go multiple
fill it in
hours.
24 hours. Yeah. Um, yeah, and at least try and narrow it down to I don't know, top something. I feel like
Top
it's
20.
I feel like it's probably going to be top 20 or 50 or something like that for me. But I think that would really be fun to just go through, year by year, pick out the games. Maybe like try and pick out top 1 or 2 games of each year.
Yeah, I think that'd be solid. In my head, I kind of thought that we'd go through year by year and, like you said, list off games that are interesting and then go through them all and come
Yeah.
up with some kind of list for each year.
Yeah. So I think that's what we should try and do maybe next week.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
And then we also want to do kind of like our most anticipated games of this year.
Yep.
Which is probably going to take an entire podcast alone just for like the first 6 months because there's so many games that are coming out in just the first few months. And then I don't know, we just have so much content I feel like to talk about because we have new consoles this year.
It's going to be mad.
It's going to be a really, really fun year, I think, and a really great year for games.
For sure.
So yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up because we've already gone over 2 hours. But yeah, I think that was pretty good. Anything else you want to mention?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, we will say goodbye, and we'll plan on seeing you guys next week at the same time. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and play some games. I just want to say really quick, Reality, thank you again so much for gifting the sub to Koala. I really appreciate that. Thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.